While the title of the video is mostly jokes, I was really concerned initially when Boji and company entered this oasis, which had these creatures that just felt too good to be true. I was like, alright, everyone's petting the cat-like creature. The armored knights are head over heels for all these cute little marshmallow blobs. I was like, they're gonna end up poisoning everyone or something. But then when it seemed like that was all well and normal, this big monster comes in. It was like a horse, bird, snake mixture. It's hard to tell because there's no real defining details. It's mostly a shape, but it's stomping the forest. Everything's running for its life. I was like, man, I feel like I'm in Hell's Paradise right now. There's these giant monsters on the island and everything's going up in flames. Of course, it's not going to be as graphic and brutal because it's ranking of kings. But honestly, it had me a little concerned. And quickly, when Boji slashed it, and I was like, oh man, that kind of looks like this creature that's kind of chilling with Boji and Kage. It kind of seemed like it was upset, almost like it was its parent. But the fact that no one responded to it, I was like, okay, maybe I'm reading into something I shouldn't. But lo and behold, just a wholesome family blob monsters that are kind of cute and adorable. That ties back to the earlier points in season 1, where basically we had that weird chant with the old man and everything, and it reminds us of the stars. And honestly, what a wild adventure that episode 2 of the Treasure Chest of Courage was. I really enjoyed my time with it. Full live reaction is available on my Patreon if you're interested in seeing my full uncut thoughts. I love this. I think it's genius. There's plenty of shows that come back now. Recently, it's kind of like a new trend where like, hey, here's some unadapted content, and I imagine Treasure Chest of Courage, they might even dabble into anime original content as well, especially given that there's literally so many possibilities, whether flashback with Boji's mother, and his father and everything like that. There's a lot of untapped potential, and I think more so than a lot of these shows that come back because, well, they're profitable enough. There's chapters we didn't adapt, let's give a bonus season to kind of tie up loose ends. Ranking of Kings, it's such a fun time that I really don't care if not a lot of people are watching this season. There's certain shows that just, they click with me on a personal level so much that just for me, I need to make videos on it, and anyone who wants to watch is just an added bonus. And this was an even better episode than episode 1. I think the 2 stories they told here were just a lot more compelling, a lot more fun. Not to discredit episode 1, I thought it did what it needed to. But yeah, this was a lot more fun because it's post-training, so Boji now is a master with his sword. And when you look at the first story that they told, which is hilarious because ultimately they have this like rumblings of like there's these beasts in the wilderness, and you start seeing like the shadow in the distance and you hear this weird sound, and you're like, it's no way there's Godzilla in this desert, right? We're not gonna fight Godzilla, it's gonna be a misunderstanding. Turned out it was actually what they were afraid of actually was just a knight who was sleepwalking and was making some weird sounds, and the flames made his shadow look a little weird, given the spiky armor and everything. But what made the first point in this story so good is that Boji is a badass. He is. Like, you can't deny that fact. He can literally poke you with the toothpick and knock you out because of his training. And he goes into this building where there's like this family huddling up. Giant sword. It looks like, oh man, did Boji's father come in here? Like, who's wielding this giant blade of berserk death? And these 3 bandits come in who just have scumbag energy. Initially, when you see them in the distance in the wide shot, I thought they were actually just normal adventurers. No, they had full scumbag energy. Boji and Kage think they are the knights in shining armor who protected this home, slayed the beast, and kept them safe. And the fact that for a minute they had a serious conversation being like, oh yeah, that sword's pretty cool, you must use that to protect, and this, that, and the third. And the family in the background are freaking out like, bro, these are the ones who just ruined our lives. Why are you patting them on the back? What is wrong with you? It was such a goofy moment. And this was the specific moment that said, you know what? I love the first episode. I gushed about it. But that moment right there, the misunderstanding that they were the good guys and the family in the background were just shitting their pants, that was the moment that cemented Treasure Chest of Courage deserves to exist for more than one reason, but that moment is just so good. And obviously, they get their butts beat. And it's one of those kind of moments where you don't see it happen, but for me, you have to wonder, these 3 are criminals, so they get thrown into a jail cell, whatever happens. How do you explain to the other intimidating criminals, you are 9 feet tall, wielding giant great swords, you should be the scary person in the cell. Hey, what are you in for, bro? Well, I was a thief, this, that, and the third. Okay, well, how did you get captured? You look pretty big. Well, a shape-shifting blob turned into a cactus, and a kid with a toothpick poked my sword. Yeah, that ain't gonna fly in the slammer, and it's pretty funny to think about. And then when it came to the second half, I loved that. I mean, obviously they leave that whole scenario thinking it was just an illusion, a hallucination, maybe it's the desert heat. I mean, it very clearly shows that no, it was real. And honestly, I'm not sure if I was the only one, because while I got the whole idea that it was the parent very quickly, even though the characters were making me second guess, I got this completely wrong. So when the tornado or the big wind blast comes in, you see this like this face or like a creature. I was like, oh, that looks a lot different than all the other ones on this island, or the oasis, I should say. And ultimately I was like, oh, Boji's gonna have to get sucked up and do his move, stab it or something, and free these creatures, because most likely these creatures probably live in fear because this looks like an evil version of whatever we're seeing. No, it turns out I think that whole thing is just like it summons itself and it removes itself. It was just a big old crazy thing that you didn't piss it off enough that you're gonna get killed, but you also got to experience a wonder no one will believe you actually experienced, and it was just the desert heat. To me, this was a perfect Ranking of Kings episode. It's one of those pieces of story that, did we need to see it in the first season? No. And if people choose to not watch this show, in terms of the spin-off Treasure Chest of Courage, will they lose out on anything whenever we eventually get a season 2? No. You don't need to watch it. But any hardcore enthusiast will say, this belongs in the Ranking of Kings timeline. Like, you're not going to lose out on anything by not watching it in chronological order. Oh yeah, put this between episodes 16 and 17. No. But it just makes you say this world is so fun. It's so silly, it can be brutal, and who doesn't want to see more adventures? I do hope we get at least one story point where we get to see some flashback of Boji's mother and his father. I think that is an episode's worth of content personally, but even if they don't go that direction, and they just show some side chapters, some side moments that weren't adapted into the main show, Ranking of Kings is too good to sleep on. You could give me one more episode and I'd be a happy camper. The fact that you're giving me 10 episodes of Treasure Chest of Courage as you wait for the manga to get farther ahead so they can greenlight a season 2 and officially do it, yeah, I'm here for this one. Obviously, when we eventually get a season 2 of Ranking of Kings, it will be more talked about than the Treasure Chest of Courage, just because it's not really plot relevant, it's more side content in between the big plots. There could be certain episodes that pop off more discussion-wise, like especially if they give us backstory episodes or anything like that. But obviously, I love this one. It's just like, my enthusiasm for this one is a lot different than a lot of shows I cover, because Ranking of Kings Season 1 to me, it just immediately from episode 1 was a classic in the making. And what I'm seeing with this just reminds me and refreshes why I love this show. It gives me more of what I love. It doesn't take away from anything. It doesn't necessarily add anything that's needed, but it just gives you more of that Ranking of Kings goodness, and that's really all I need this show to be. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers for maybe a special episode that flashes back, or maybe even flashes forward. That would be amazing, but they don't need to do that for this to still be a wonderful 10 out of 10 enjoyment season. Not talking objectively like, oh yeah, if we're looking at the character writing, it does so much for this, that. No, I'm saying just for pure entertainment, this is Ranking of Kings at its absolute funnest. Let me know what you're thinking though down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And like I mentioned, we do that full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested. And while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today we have Fabian, Derek Nickel, and Eugene Lauren. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.